Talking to you tonight about traffic signs. Traffic signs are to driving what instructions are to an IKEA cabinet. They're all there. Nobody really reads them until they get into trouble. Came back from Calgary yesterday back to Vernon, which is about a 6-7 hour drive, and you need to look at the traffic signs, especially for the passing lanes to get around other traffic. And middle of summer, there is a lot of traffic with caravans and trailers and trucks and buses, tourists, many people. It is a hard slog in the summertime with all that traffic making their way across the Rocky Mountains and through Banff and those types of places. So it was exciting. And as well, traffic signs, classifications of traffic signs. We're going to teach you how to read traffic signs, how to know what the classifications are, what they mean, the generalization, the general groups of traffic signs, so that you can understand at a glance and get the information from those traffic signs, and how it is going to help you to be a better, safer, smarter driver. This is what we're doing here. Corey is here, Bricks for Wheels, and I do apologize. The time was wrong on the live stream. I had 5 o'clock, and I now see that a lot of people are actually paying attention to when the live stream is at the time is actually there. So I do apologize about that with the incorrect time, because I kicked it up to get ready here, and I looked on it and I was like, oh, there's a lot of people on the live stream. Why is that? And then I realized the time was wrong, and there were a lot of people like, where is he? What is he doing? So my apologies. My friend Joe is here. Muggy Monday in Toronto, yes, Ontario, and it is hot here in British Columbia as well. We definitely got some heat. So, got a new video up today. What is defensive driving? Holly, a smart driver, asked me what is defensive driving and why is it important. So we addressed that question for Holly and gave some answers to that. Outlined the tools for defensive driving, the problem that it solves, which is social driving, and the challenges that you're facing as a defensive driver, and it is the solution to anxiety when you're driving, aggression when you're driving, and traffic crashes. So it's not just not crashing, not having an incident, it's also about aggression when you're driving, road rage, and incidents. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. And Wyatt is here. Wyatt talked to me about his dad saying that shoulder checking, doing a left turn is OCD. Again, I come back to habits for new drivers, learning drivers, that you want to put the habits in place that will keep you safe when you're driving, so that in 3 months, a year, 2 years, that habit is going to keep you safe. You shoulder check every time you change direction of the vehicle. You signal every time you change directions of the vehicle. It is going to keep you safe if you are observing and communicating effectively with other traffic. Going back to the video of defensive driving, is you want to be a proactive driver. Proactive drivers signal effectively, communicate effectively, and they observe correctly, which is that they are shoulder checking. They're not relying on blind spot detectors in their vehicles, convex mirrors and those types of things, because you're going to miss stuff. And I had a number of comments from people about blind spot detectors that they warn you too late. It's the vehicle's already in right beside you when you're trying to change lanes, and the blind spot detector goes off. So take note of all of that when you're driving, and develop those habits to keep yourself safe when you're driving. Because as I said, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be 6 months, it may not be 6 years from now, but in 8 years, you're going to shoulder check and you're going to go, oh my God, there's something there. Because we all get tired. We all make mistakes. We all get distracted when we're driving. And if you have those habits in place, you don't even have to think about it. All right? Joe says, what a gorgeous drive between Calgary and the Okanagan. A bit more tense in February. Yeah, it was. Actually, Joe, I would disagree with that. I would rather drive the Trans-Canada through the mountains in the wintertime than in the summertime, like we just did yesterday, because there is crazy people. Crazy people, and there are not enough passing lanes. Like, it's 2 lane for a big chunk of it, and you're behind the camper vans and the trailers and the boats and the people. And the other thing that I realized yesterday about people driving and is that when the road changes, people will slow down. If they're going through a tunnel, they will slow down. If they're going under an underpass, they will slow down. If there's something weird going on, the light changes on the highway, they will slow down. There are just people out there that are pulling trailers and driving large recreational units, and they really need some training before they get behind the wheel of these bigger vehicles. They're not qualified in any sense of the imagination. And there was another vehicle, pickup truck pulling a trailer coming up where the spiral tunnel is for the train, and probably blew the transmission out, because many people are duped thinking, go and buy a big man pickup truck. It's rated for 7,000 pounds towing capacity. It's not rated for 7,000 pounds towing capacity in the mountains. You start hauling a caravan or a trailer in the mountains, and you're going to find out pretty quickly that you're going to take the transmission out of it, because if you're pulling heavy and you're pulling hard with a pickup truck in the mountains, you need a transmission cooler, which is about $3,000 or $4,000, because you got to run lines off the radiator to run fluid around the transmission to cool the transmission down, because automatic transmissions in these pickup trucks are essentially a hydraulic pump, and it's basic science. It's you increase the pressure, the hydraulic pressure in the pump, and you heat up the transmission, and pulling in the mountains, you're going to blow up. The transmission is essentially not going to be able to sustain that kind of heat, and it's going to give in. So for anybody who's going and buying a pickup truck and you're going to drag a big trailer through the mountains, make sure that you go and get, first, bigger brakes on it, because you need to brake correctly. You got to get your brake controller on it, and you've got to get a transmission cooler. Lots of people don't get transmission coolers, and they burn the transmission out on their pickup trucks. Camilo, thank you for your videos. I could get my G license in Barrie, Ontario. Thank you very much. You are most welcome, my friend. My friend Mallory is here, just wondering if you've heard about the wildfires in BC. Yes, we have some wildfires in Linton again. Unfortunately, there's a wildfire that's out of control, but that's the only one that I know of here currently in the province of British Columbia. It'll be next week. We have a week of heat here, and it will dry everything out, and then the forest fires will start in August. And just in time, I'll be going to Ontario. So maybe come down and see my friend Joe in Toronto there, in muggy Toronto. So way we do it here, we're going to do a presentation here, 10 or 12 minutes on traffic signs, and then we'll come back and we'll answer any questions you have about passing a driver's test, any questions you have about learning how to drive, becoming a safer, smarter driver, or starting a career as a truck or bus driver. We can help you out with all of that information. So let's get over here to the slideshow, talking about traffic signs, as I already introduced. Transition didn't go over. There we go. Now we're going. Talking about traffic signs, and as I said, traffic signs are to driving what instructions are to an IKEA cabinet. You know, you get it all apart, you put it out on the floor, you start putting it apart together and whatnot, and you can't figure out what it is, and then you go and look at the instructions. Traffic signs are a lot like that, because if you just got to train some upgrading drivers who are learning to drive a dump truck or Class A license, and realize very quickly that they don't read road signs. And when you drive a larger vehicle, as I was just talking about with caravans and recreational vehicles and those types of things, it becomes very important to read and take note of traffic signs. For those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver in the 1990s, became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997. I went to the Ontario Safety League in Ontario to earn that certification. A little bit weird in Ontario, because you're licensed to teach kids how to drive cars, but you're certified to teach truck drivers and air brakes, which is a little bit interesting. Earned my doctorate in legal history in 2006. Legal history is the study of policing, courts, and prisons. My expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic. Started the Smart Drive Test YouTube channel in 2015. And if you want to know more about me, you can check out the autobiography. Corey just put the link up for that. Thank you, Corey. New stuff this week, why defensive driving. That's the new video. Just put it up today. And we're actually going to change the time of when the video goes up this week. So Mallory, take note. Mondays in mid-afternoon is when the video is going to go up going forward from now on. New podcast went up on Friday, Distracted Driving. Have a listen to that and learn what distracted driving is. And as you'll see in the video, or in the podcast rather, it's not just phones, cell phones, and electronics. It's all kinds of things. It's eating, drinking, plucking your eyebrows, shaving, all those types of things going down the road. So, Distracted Driving, have a listen to that podcast. 3 ways that signs convey information to drivers. Shapes of the sign. Okay? Regulatory signs are going to be rectangular in shape. Cautionary signs and construction signs are going to be diamond in shape. And yield signs are triangles, inverted triangles. Stop signs are octagons. So the shape of the sign is going to convey information. The colors they're on, we know that orange signs with black lettering are construction signs. Cautionary signs are yellow signs with black lettering. Regulatory signs, for the most part, are white backgrounds with black lettering and symbols. Stop signs, red with white lettering on them. So the colors, words, and symbols: stop, yield, give way. All of those different types of signs are going to give you information in these 3 ways. Road sign classifications: regulatory signs, school signs, cautionary signs, and the most important of the cautionary signs, especially, we're going back to the recreational vehicles again because I was stuck behind a few of them yesterday. So this is my little pet peeve today, is the caravans and the people hauling trailers and stuck on a 2-lane skinny winding through the mountains at 40 miles an hour, 70 kilometers an hour. So know that. I personally think that if a vehicle cannot do at least 90 kilometers an hour, it should not be on the road, especially when I'm stuck behind it. All right. Object marker signs, we'll talk about those a little bit more in detail and give you a video. Okay. And then lane control signs: action permitted, action not permitted. Object marker signs. If you are going to a bigger vehicle, don't get me wrong, these are important for cars as well. But if you're going to a bigger vehicle, pulling a trailer, driving your caravan, getting your dump truck license or tractor trailer license, object marker signs are one and the most important signs on the road. As well, they're the most prolific. If there's any sign that there's the most number of, it's going to be the object marker signs, which locate fixed objects along the roadway. The hash marks. The bottom of the hash marks tell you which side to pass the fixed object. In this object marker sign, for example, it tells you to pass on the right because the hash marks are pointing down. So there's this one. There's the other one that tells you to pass on the left. And then there's the chevron, which tells you to pass either left or right. So when you look at the object marker signs, think of a kettle of water being poured on the hash marks, and which way the water runs off the hash marks is the side on which you pass. And Corey's put that video up there as well. Thank you for that, Corey. Very important for larger vehicles because you got to take wide turns and get out around the hazard. Regulatory signs: stop signs, speed signs, railway crossing signs, and brake check signs for larger vehicles. Lots of these in the mountains with brake checks when you got to go in with your tractor trailer or your dump truck. Recreational vehicle, you should stop as well and make sure that everything is working properly before you head down the long grade, especially the 10-mile hill into Golden. Very steep, very long. And also you'll have these steep grade ahead signs that'll tell you exactly how steep it is, how far down it is, and it will tell you where the runaway lanes are located in case you burn out your brakes. Because if you're hauling a trailer, a caravan, you're hauling a horse trailer, you're hauling a boat trailer, you're coming down the hill and you're riding those brakes, you are going to overheat the brakes, and you're going to find out very quickly that you don't have brakes anymore and you're not going to be able to get the vehicle stopped. Intersection signs. Every one of these different types of signs are cautionary signs, but they locate intersections. And I come back to intersections again because, as I've said repeatedly throughout the live streams, throughout the podcast, for more than 40% of crashes happen at intersections. It is important that you locate and observe intersections before you get there so that you can look and scan, map road users at the intersection, and figure out which ones are going to cross your path of travel to keep yourself safe. T intersections, roundabouts, Y intersections, and offset intersections. These are all different kinds of intersections. Dead-end intersections where you have to turn left or right. Many of those in Ontario where Joe lives and other people know that you'll just, the road will end and there's a farmer's field with a big, corn in it, and you have to either turn left or right. And, there's a lot of single vehicle accidents that happen at these junctures where they'll just drive off the end of the road into, the bush, the grove of trees, the wheat field, the cornfield. Hopefully it's a cornfield and not a grove of trees, because you're more likely to survive that. Cautionary signs. Some cautionary signs, warning signs, are more important than others. If you're driving a tractor trailer, for example, and the bridge is 11 feet 8 inches, and you don't know that your truck is 13 feet 6 inches, most of them are if it's a van or a reefer. It's not the smoking kind of reefer, it's the temperature controlled trailers. They're called reefers in the trucking industry, which is a little bit weird, but anyway. So 13 feet 6 inches, 4.15 meters is the maximum height if you're pulling a trailer. So you need to know that. And if you go under a bridge that's 11 feet 8 inches and your trailer is 13 feet 6 inches, you're going to turn it into a convertible. Some are relevant, some not so much. Cautionary signs telling you what the maximum speed that you can go around a curve. Now, the first time, if you're driving in an area that you have not been to before, then reduce your speed to 45 miles an hour. If you're in the area, you live there, and you've gone around this curve 100 times, and you know you can go around at 55 or 60 miles an hour, then by all means. These with a yellow background are cautionary. They're a recommended speed. They are not a speed limit. If it's a white background with black border, then it is a regulatory sign, and you must do that speed. And many students get caught out in playground areas, so know that. Larger vehicles, destination signs, overhead signs, and match the speed of the traffic flow. Once you get your driver's license, I do encourage new drivers and drivers to keep up with the traffic flow, because you're much more predictable when you're driving. And this goes back to my pet peeve today of caravans and people hauling trailers on the Trans-Canada Highway and doing 80 kilometers an hour when the speed limit is 100. They can't even do the speed limit. They are not being predictable on the roadway. Lane usage signs. This tells you what you can do at the intersection when you're turning. If you're underneath this sign, you can only turn left, the bottom one. If you're underneath the top one, you can turn left in the left lane only, and if you're in the right lane, you can turn left or go straight through the intersection. Pay attention to these signs, because you could end up in a bit of a crash if you're trying to proceed through the intersection and you're doing something contrary to what the sign allows you to do. Okay, and if you're in a larger vehicle at an intersection, you need to pay attention to the signs. And if there's 2 left turning lanes, you need to be in the outside lane. Same thing with right turning lanes. You need to be in the outside lane. So when you get around, with a larger vehicle, you need to be in the outside lane. All right, mile marker signs with GPS, these are losing their usefulness, but there was a time that mile marker signs were very useful, and they're still useful, and they work very well. They dovetail well with the GPS, because the GPS will say to you, get off at exit 78 and you're at exit 75. Well, you know that you have 3 miles up the road that you're going to get off the road, so you can start moving over to the right in preparation for exiting. Take note of the mile marker signs, unless you live in the state of New York, where the mile marker signs do not line up with the exit signs. But in most states, most provinces, the mile marker number is the same as the exit number. So pay attention to those, take note of those. Good luck in your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Get back over here, and my friend Big Mac Sam is here. Hello, Sam. How are you, my friend? How is summertime in the Big Apple, and you there in the Bronx? D is here as well. Hello, D. Layla, how are you? I am doing well. Yourself? Wyatt says, I've been watching your vids for years, but didn't know these things about you. Thanks for sharing. You're most welcome, Wyatt. Adik was driving Peterborough this weekend. They have county roads on which there is no lane markings. The roads are so wavy that I couldn't see and could have resulted in head-on collision. Tips for such roads. Yeah, Corey will put the video up for you on driving on curvy roads, and especially if there aren't lane markings. Yes, that can make it incredibly challenging when you're trying to drive on these two-lane skinnies, as we call them. You know, opposing traffic, one lane here, one lane there. They're coming at you, and it's up and down and around, and you know, through the mountains, through the country, farmers' fields, and those types of things. Yeah, it can be challenging for sure. Toxic Colin, I am coming to southwestern Ontario, the London area. My mom lives in Wingham, actually, so I'm going to Wingham. Gregory, thank you for your videos in New Brunswick. I have written my Class 1 and air brake endorsement. Awesome. And Gregory, did you get your results for those tests that you took there? Brilliant, brilliant. And yes, some of that drive from Calgary, I did actually put that in the defensive driving video that I put up today, and actually have a look at that. Some of the scenery is actually quite gorgeous. It's really, really beautiful. Abigail, I have seen black and white lines, middle of the road. What does it mean? Thanks. Okay, so black and white line, middle of the lane. Okay, I don't know the black, Abigail, but the white lines separate traffic going in the same direction, and that is in North America. So if you have two lanes of traffic and they're separated by white lines, that means the traffic's going in the same direction. If you have yellow lines in North America, it's opposing lanes of traffic, so the lanes are going in two separate directions. That's the difference between white lines and yellow lines. Cole, thank you very much from Jamaica. You are most welcome, my friend. Most welcome. Sam says it's super hot in New York there in the Bronx, and it's warmish here too. Joe, do any states or provinces still use words and numbers instead of international symbols, like the word hill instead of a picture of a car on a slope? Joe, there are some. Quebec has some different and interesting road signs as opposed to what we have in the rest of the country. They are trying to standardize traffic signs in North America and Europe as well. I mean, they're still fairly... One of the things, because English isn't the first language for most people, they're trying to move away from words on the signs, and they're trying to go to symbols or pictures which are symbolic of what it actually means. So the picture of a hill with a car on a slope, it's easier for people who English is not their first language, as opposed to people who, you know, have a hill on it. And as well, I think it's more representative of that you're going to go down a hill and you need to, you know, gear down to slow down to go down the hill and those types of things. So it just simply works better. And Gregory said he passed his license. That is awesome. Morgan, what skills are tested on a MVA driver's test? Closed course portion. Okay. Gregory, there's going to be a couple of different things, different types of courses, and I don't know which type of course you're on in terms of a closed circuit course. Some of them are like a little mini roadway with stop signs and intersections and little speed bumps and those types of things. That's one type of course that you could go on potentially. The other type is it's just a closed circuit course, and they get you to parallel park between cones. They might get you to, you know, drive up and drive in and park, or they might get you to back up between cones and those types of things, get you to do different types of slow speed maneuvers in a closed circuit course. So it depends which one you're going to, whether it's an actual little mini driving course or it's just they get you to do a bunch of slow speed maneuvers in the closed circuit area. So that's going to depend on which one of those you're going to be up against. And you would probably find that information out from a local driving school. I don't know for sure. I can't give you that specific information. RK, what if we mistakenly enter into a HOV lane? Do we get ticketed if we correct that mistake? Does children and 1-year-olds considered as passengers? In high occupancy vehicle lanes, generally kids, maybe not. I don't know the specifics of that. But the other thing with that is you need at least one other person. And no, if you just got in the HOV lane for a couple kilometers, like, oh, wait a minute, I shouldn't be driving in the HOV lane. There's just me in the car. It's not likely they're going to ticket you for that. If you've been driving in the HOV lane for a long time, then yes, they're probably going to ticket you. And, but for the most part, police are often busy doing something else unless you really give them the gears when they pull you over and say, hey, you're driving in the HOV lane. As I said in the podcast on being pulled over by police, be nice. Always be nice. If the police officer approaches the car, don't get out of the car. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. Don't reach for anything. Don't do anything until the police officer gives you instructions. Answer his or her questions. Don't deny what you did. Just keep your hands on the wheel and follow all the instructions of the police officer. And if you're nice, most of the time you're going to get off with a warning. If you're belligerent and you're adversarial towards the police officer, I can almost guarantee you that you're going to get a ticket for driving in the HOV lane when you get pulled over. So again, it comes back to be nice. They're just doing their job. All right. Mallory, the weather this weekend here was really nice. It was sunny and warm, and that is nice to hear in the Maritimes. There's some heat coming for sure, though. Beauify, hello there in Mission. That's awesome. Morgan, to get your provisional license. Yeah, so like I said, depends on what kind of course it is. Gregory, I will be attending the Atlantic Truck and Training Center Class 1 and 5 piece, and also doing the heavy equipment operator. That is awesome. And Gregory, have you started looking for a job as of yet? Because I would really encourage you to start calling around to different companies. Just make a list of the different companies that you would be interested in working for. Tell them what you're doing. Hey, listen, I'm starting school here. I'm getting my truck driving license. I am going to be getting my heavy operator's license. Would you be interested? You can call the excavating companies that run that type of big heavy equipment and just tell them what you're doing. They'll probably say, hey, call us back when you get your license. But then, say to them, hey, can I come in? Can I drop my resume off? And then you get dressed up nice, right? Clean clothes and those types of things. Get your resume out. Go in. Chat them up a little bit. Think of it like a little mini interview, right? And then you give them your resume. You say, hey, I'm going to truck driving school. I'm doing the heavy operators ticket. I'll be ready to go here in a few weeks. Can you keep me in mind if anything comes up? I'll come back in and check back in, and make sure that you check back in a month, in a few weeks. And then the last question you ask them when you give them your resume, because now they have a face to the paper, right? So the other question you ask them, you say, listen, do you know anybody else that might be hiring? Because keep in mind, all these trucking companies, all these excavating companies, they all know each other. So they'll be saying, hey, we're not hiring right now, but, John over at T&J Excavating, they're hiring over there. They're looking for people. So get your name in as soon as possible. I know that there's a lot of work to do in terms of going to truck driving school and those types of things, but you want to get a job as soon as you get out of the other end, okay? And you need to be proactive to, get a job, because that saying, if you're waiting for your ship to come in, swim out to it, all right? Don't be standing on the dock going, oh, where's my ship? Where's my ship? No, get in the water and swim out to it. And that's exactly what you're doing when you're going down to these companies and giving them your CV, your resume. You're swimming out to the ship. You're being proactive. And as long as you're being proactive in a job search, that makes their life a whole lot easier. All right? MOG, I'm a young man going for his driver's license. I feel I have pressure to drive better than I naturally can. I deal with a lot of anxiety as I drive on the road. Advice would be truly appreciated. Again, watch the video today on why defensive driving, and that will help you with your anxiety. Space management, okay? Manage space well around your vehicle. If you're driving a car, 3 to 4 seconds. If you're moving up to a larger vehicle, you're going to extend that out to 4 to 6 to 8 seconds because you need more space with bigger vehicles. Sorry, JDI is an Irving company. Chase the money and it won't chase you. Okay, so you've already got a job with Irving then. Awesome. Okay, so Irving is training you to be one of their drivers. That's even better. If you can get a company that's going to train you, brilliant. Gregory, what's the contract that you're working with? So Irving is going to train you, and then what do you need to do in return for them? Do you need to work for a certain period of time? Is that what's happening? RK, while driving in Vancouver, I saw a speed radar signboard showing me the current speed of the vehicle. Is there any ticket to be issued on the basis of that speed calculator? No, a lot of those, they put those on the side of the road to deter people from speeding. But for some people, it's it's a challenge to get a high score. But no, you won't get a speeding ticket from that. Afghan, I'm a newcomer to the U.S. and I'm already a driver, but I want someone to teach or guide me to get used to it while driving here, so please provide me with the information. Afghan, where did you come from? Did you come from another country where they drive on the left, or did you drive on the right as well? It's pretty, again, it comes back to maintaining space around your vehicle, keeping that 2 to 3 second following distance in front of your vehicle. You should be controlling space in front of your vehicle using the throttle, not the brake. If you're on the brake to control space in front of your vehicle, you're following too close and need to extend that out. All right. Mallory, we have lots of trucks around here. When they go around the corner, they use their Jake brake. Just wondering what that is. Okay. Jake brake, Mallory, is an engine brake that essentially closes off the exhaust ports in the engine and puts back pressure into the motor. And of course it makes it loud for some of these trucks because they have no exhaust on them, no muffler. But the technology is getting better and they're getting quieter. They're not as noisy as they once were. So they are getting better. But again, just complain. Tell your parents to get the name, the name of the company, and just tell them that their drivers are causing noise in the city, because literally it's an on-off switch to turn off the Jake brake in the truck. And I've seen drivers do it 2 o'clock in the morning driving through town, and they got their Jake brake on, and I just think to myself, really, is that necessary that you have your Jake brake on at 2 o'clock in the morning? And I mean, years ago when I first started driving, in the early 1990s, I drove with the Crazy Frenchman. And, same thing. 2 o'clock in the morning, Jake brake on, and of course the truck had straight pipes on, and he'd be laughing maniacally going down the road. Wake up, people! Crazy person. Joe, not a question about signs as such, but it would be great to have L and N plates for learner drivers here in Ontario. When my son was learning to drive, nobody knew he was a bit puck shy at times. Joe, they don't really work. I've been in places where they require them. In Australia, where I taught in Victoria, Australia there, they had them. They have them here in British Columbia. They don't work. Even driving instruction cars, people will still honk at you. And sometimes it's like a bullseye. People just think that they can be aggressive and those types of things. So it's up in the air whether they, it's a bureaucratic thing whether they decide to have them or not. Unfortunately, it doesn't help the new driver. I made up a huge sign. I was teaching a young guy to drive in Ottawa, manual transmission. He was on a bit of a hill and he was having trouble. He was stalling it. He couldn't get it going. And same thing, had a sign in the back, and of course people are still honking. So unfortunately, they don't work, and the jury's still out about the effectiveness of the L and N signs on the back of the car. Morgan, do I just need a certificate of driver's ed completion, rookie driver hours, insurance cards, vehicle registration cards, and learner's permit for my driver's test? Morgan, remind me. Remind me what state you're in again, because yes, I think you do need a list of that information when you do go in for your driver's license. You need to show that you have a certain number of hours behind the wheel and whatnot. RK, thanks for the information. Sometimes the vehicle behind honks if we stop at an intersection for a while to determine safe. How can we handle that situation? Again, RK, this comes back to the most important skill for new drivers, which is really tough. You got to focus on what you're doing. If you don't feel safe, you don't feel comfortable going, don't go. As I said, they have three choices, right? They can run into you, they can wait for you, or they can simply go home. And most people are just simply going to wait for you. They're just going to get their aggression out with honking and whatnot. But you got to focus on what you're doing, because if you get pressured by other drivers to go when you shouldn't be going, that's when you're getting it into a T-bone crash because you turned left at an intersection when there wasn't sufficient gap and those types of things. You got to just ignore them, because people are going to be aggressive. People are going to honk their horns. They're going to give you the finger. They're going to tell you you're number one. They're going to flash their lights. They're going to stop and yell at you. They're going to do all kinds of goofy things. Unfortunately, that is part and parcel of social driving. So just focus on what you're doing, block them out, and go when you feel comfortable going. Morgan, you're in Maryland. Yeah, so you're going to need the certificate of driver's ed completion. Obviously, you're going to need your insurance card, vehicle registration, your learner's print when you show up, and you're going to need all of that information that you listed there to go in and to be eligible for the driving examiner to take you out for your driving test. Gregory, no, I'm doing it out of pocket. I work for CFM, a JDI Irving company, as the shipper. When I complete all the training, they're assisting me to get Golf Op or Irving equipment. Oh, okay. Awesome. So good on you for doing it yourself. That way you're not obligated under a contract and those types of things. I think for most companies, when they train you, like Schneider National or JB Hunt or some of the bigger companies in the US and whatnot, they require you to work for them at minimum a year. It might even be longer for them to be able to recoup those costs, because the cost of getting your training it can be quite hefty, as you know, that you're paying it for yourself. D, yes, I can tell that's true. Roof signs, advertising, and students still get honked at, overtaken aggressively. Yes, yes, they do. Joe, L&N planes don't work. Wow, wouldn't have figured that. Thanks for the eye-opener. Joe, you're most welcome. Yeah, sometimes it's just easier to drive under the radar, because I've been with lots of students who don't have signs on their vehicle. They just have their L sticker. I mean, they have their L sticker on the back. But very less honking for sure when they're driving, as opposed to having a sticker telling other drivers what they're doing. And probationary drivers really dislike those signs on their vehicles as well. They really feel like they're a target for sure. Mallory, the main road here is the main highway through the local area. Yeah, Mallory, however, for the Jake brakes and engine brakes, which is what it really is, they do have signs up through the municipality that asking drivers to turn off the Jake brake. I mean, unless they're coming down a big hill, then yes, there's a requirement for them to have their Jake brake on. But if they're on the flat, like if they're on flat ground, they don't need to be having their Jake brake on coming through a built-up residential area. Buify, any tips on right turning and shoulder check, please? Buify, one of the things you want to do in terms of getting your shoulder checks in before you do your right-hand turn is you want to get them in before. So you need a little bit more space. You want to be shoulder checking approximately half a block before the turn. So a quick shoulder check, drive up, mapping and scanning the intersection, looking for bicycles, looking for pedestrians, and then quick shoulder check just before you're around the corner. Look in the direction that you want to go. Make sure that your shoulder check again, that there isn't anybody on your right side, bicycles, pedestrians, kids on scooters and skaters and those types of things. So do what you need to do to be safe going around in your right-hand turns. Get your speed down before you start turning. You don't want to be braking and going around the corner, because in the wintertime, when the roads are slippery, if you go around the corner and you're braking, oftentimes what's going to happen if you get on a bit of ice is the vehicles just continue to go straight. It's not going to turn at all. Steering and braking become two separate actions when conditions are slippery due to weather conditions for ice and those types of things. So you want to slow down first and then turn, and when you get kind of halfway through the turn, you want to be accelerating and getting the vehicle up to speed again. That's going to keep you safe. Sam says minimum is usually a year. The bus company I used to work for trains and wants drivers to stay for a year. Okay, so thanks for that, Sam. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking the contract after they trained you was usually that you had to stay for a year. And if you don't stay for a year after they train you as a CDL driver, they're going to want some compensation back. You're going to have to pay some of that money back to regain, so that they don't lose money, because it does cost a lot of money to train an employee. There's a lot of time and energy that goes into that. Joe, about focusing on your own driving and not worrying about honkers and such, sounds like Zen masters could make good learner drivers. Calm. It's certainly a challenge, and even Joe, as experienced drivers, you and myself and Sam and other people, I mean, there are still other road users in traffic that just cause you to shake your head. For example, and I'll see if I can find this and make a video short out of it, 2 motorcycles were coming down the Trans-Canada. We're on a highway. We're at 90 kilometers an hour. It's 55 miles an hour on this section of the Trans-Canada Highway. And these 2 motorcycles make a U-turn right in front of us. And I'm like, and I wonder why, and you wonder why motorcycle riders die. When you do that kind of risky behavior, it's like, yeah, you're going to die. A few weeks back, same thing. 2 motorcycles. I'm coming up the highway from Kelowna, and there's 2 motorcycles, one in each lane, side by side, going down the road. And so I come up behind them because I'm going faster than them. I get up behind the one in the passing lane, and what do? They don't move over to the right. They move over into the left lane, the 2 of them. And I was like, and we wonder why motorcycle drivers die. It just boggles my mind. There's times, and so for new drivers, trying to teach them to focus on what they're doing. I mean, even those of us who are veteran drivers, we're just like head shaking going, what are you doing? And we're trying to focus on what we're doing, and they're doing something goofy, and you're going, oh my God, really? Let's all take a breath here. Yeah, and Sam says they want that money back if you do leave, in fact. Wyatt, tips for drivers with ADHD. Easily distracted, seems to practice. Yes, and you want to practice. And Wyatt, one of the things that you want to do is, if you do have ADHD or you have other kind of focus issues, you want to limit yourself to 10 or 15 minutes. And as you get more proficient, as you build up, then you can make your driving sessions longer so that you can learn to focus more. But you want to have shorter sessions at the beginning, more shorter sessions, so that you can focus on what you're doing and try not to get distracted with all the other things that are going on. The radio and the stereo in the car, and some person doing something goofy, motorcycles doing, U-turns on highways and those types of things. So, yeah. Lewis, hi everyone who's enjoying this life-saving course. Just a question, what is the difference between the long broken white lines and short broken white lines? I'm from Illinois. Okay, so long broken white lines separate traffic going in the same direction. If they're short, they're called continuity lines, and usually on ramps and exit ramps. And if the short continuity lines, they're half as long and twice as wide as normal lines. If they're on the left, it means that the lane that you are in is either going to exit or end. Okay, so if you're on an on-ramp and the continuity lines are on your left, that lane is going to end. Okay, or it's going to exit if you're getting off the freeway or interstate. That's what that means. Morgan, how long do I have to wait if I fail my driver's test? Do I need to pay if I fail? Yes, Morgan, there is a cost for a retest, and it's going to vary from state to state. Some places there is a waiting period if you fail your driver's test. Other places you can book another driver's test the next day and take your driver's test. So it's going to depend on where you're at, and I can't give you specific information for Maryland there. Epic, my friend, regarding New Jersey that passed the road tests, red decals are required to meet log requirements. In short terms, New Jersey. Okay, so you do have decals there in the state of New Jersey. Sam, I say the same thing to my wife. Motorcycle riders do crazy stuff and they wonder why they die. Some are not careful and do the unbelievable. Yeah, Sam. No fender benders on a motorcycle. That's the saying. Deke, there is a sign saying, please avoid use of engine brakes. This doesn't make any sense to me. Please avoid use of engine brakes. Yeah, it's a request to truck drivers to not use the engine brake when they're coming into a residential or built up area because engine brakes are noisy. And perhaps, Sadiq, what is confusing you is that engine brakes on big trucks are auxiliary braking units. They're to assist the air brakes in going down long downhills. That's the purpose of the Jake brake. So it's an auxiliary braking unit. You don't need it for going down hills for short distances. You can simply just use the brake pedal and bring the vehicle to a stop. The Jake brake is noisy, and they want to avoid the urban noise pollution in these residential built-up areas. Okay? Lewis, thanks for your help. Stay safe and God bless. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Lewis, my friend, and welcome to the Smart Driver community. We appreciate your questions and your involvement. Always awesome, my friend. Lynn, I've been following you for a few months, and I appreciate all that you do. I am now instructing new drivers, and it is a bit nerve-wracking for sure. That's awesome, Lynn, that you were teaching new drivers how to drive. And yes, they can surprise you a little bit every now and again on some of the goofy things that they'll do. Probably the one that you've had a bit of challenge with, I suspect, is getting them to understand two-way stop signs, that you actually, in fact, got to come to a stop, and then you got to creep out and give way, and then when the way is clear, then you can go, for sure. Corey, if you fail the skills test, you may retake the test. First failure 1 day later, depending on the test appointment availability. Second or subsequent failure 1 week, 7 days minimum. So there is a wait time. Thank you for putting that up and finding that source, Corey. That's awesome. Awesome. Morgan, do you have to use the emergency or parking brake during the driver's test? Morgan, yes, you do. Every time you park the vehicle, and this is for everybody, regardless of what state you're in or what province, yes, apply the parking brake every time you park the vehicle. Now, some of you are going to have newer vehicles that the parking brake applies automatically. Get in the habit of just applying the parking brake, because you're going to get in different vehicles. You're going to drive your friends' vehicles and those types of things. You want to make sure that the vehicle is in the same place that you left it. So apply the parking brake. Keep your foot on the foot brake, put the transmission into park, and then apply the parking brake, release the foot brake, you're good to go. Michelle, no stopping at any time when turning right on the red light means I do not need to full stop before I turn left, just yield. Okay. Michelle, I would ask you to send me the intersection where you're thinking about, because I can't think of any intersection that has a red light that says no stopping at any time, because I don't think that applies to the intersection and the right turn. I think that applies to the roadway along which you're traveling. If there is a red light, you need to come to a stop, okay? Mallory, what is it like to drive through the mountains when the clouds are hanging off the mountains? Mallory, it's interesting, and it actually can be a bit challenging. There is a place on the connector, they call it the connector between Merritt, British Columbia, and Kelowna, and I've been up there on that connector where you're driving through the clouds, and it's thick, dense fog that you cannot see very far in front of the vehicle, and it can be a bit nerve-wracking for sure. Deke, my partner is super hilarious, keeps baseball bats in the car. She is cute, Italiano. Is it okay to come out of the car with the bat in the car on any incident? Okay, that'd make somebody think twice about it. Lovi, one of the best instructors, got my G first try because of you. Thank you, my friend, and congratulations on getting your G license. That is absolutely awesome. And what did you do to go and celebrate? That sounds really great. Awesome. And Dee was saying that it's going to get easier with the instruction, and it certainly does. And Lynn, you're certainly going to figure out your own style. You're going to figure out your own approach with new drivers and those types of things. And yes, it's a bit daunting in the beginning when you start with students, but the more you do it, the easier it's going to get for sure. And you'll come up with your own explanations of how to explain things to students, what they need to do and what they don't need to do, and you know, the things that they really need to focus on. Because one of the other things with being a driving instructor that you're going to figure out is that time is very short. and there's a lot of you're thinking, oh my God, they need like 3 or 4 more lessons to just try and get things figured out. And you know, you've got a very limited amount of time to get the skills and abilities into them that they need to pass the driver's test. So it is challenging for sure. Morgan, is the driver's test different for everyone? It will change from person to person. No, Morgan, the driver's test is as objective as they can make it. However, different driving examiners will have a slightly different focus depending on who's taking the driver's test. There are some slightly different rules in different states and different provinces, but for the most part, all of the skills and abilities and strategies here on this channel will help you to pass a driver's test. And if you're not feeling confident, or you think that you need an evaluation before you go for your driver's test, especially if you're not taking driver training, then I recommend that you hire a local driving instructor and go out and say, listen, I just want to do a practice test. I want you to assess my abilities and skills. The other piece with that is a driving instructor will also take you on the test route. He or she won't tell you that, but they will take you on the test route, because all the driving instructors know where the test routes are. They'll take you on the test route. They'll take you to the place where the driving examiners do the 3-point turns, where they do the parallel parking and those types of things. And then they'll come back and they'll say to you, okay, these skills and abilities are good. Your parallel parking is good. Your driving is good. However, you need to stop a little bit longer at a stop sign before proceeding through. You need to center the vehicle in the lane a little bit. You're hugging the left side of the lane a little bit. Or your lane changes. You need to shoulder check more when you're driving and whatnot. So the return on investment for new drivers going for the driver's license and taking one lesson with a driving instructor, if you're not already taking driving lessons, is very, very high. So I would recommend that you do that. Mallory, I really enjoy learning about all the skills and techniques that are needed for driving. Thanks for your videos and live streams. And Mallory, you are most welcome, and we absolutely love you being part of the Smart Driver community. Thank you so much. Morgan, I go for my driver's test on Wednesday. Morgan, you're going to do awesome, okay? And make sure that you do a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle before you go down if you're taking your own vehicle. And even if you're going with a school, ask your driving instructor if he or she did a pre-trip inspection on the vehicle. You don't want to be denied your test because the insurance expired, or you have a brake light out or whatnot. So make sure that your vehicle is working. All right. Adik, any tips on driving from St. Catharines to West Virginia across the border, please? To West Virginia, you're driving on the interstate. Maintain your distance, your 4 to 6 second following distance behind other vehicles. Stay in the right lane. If you're not going to keep up with traffic flow, you're going to drive the posted speed limit. Use cruise control to reduce distractions when you're driving, and look far down the road and figure out the different characteristics of other vehicles. As I was telling you when we were driving across the mountains yesterday, trucks pulling trailers, caravans, motorhomes, those types of things. They're going to go slow. They're going to have different kinds of characteristics and whatnot. And you got to maintain your space. And you're going to control your space with speed. So some of these vehicles, the posted speed limit on the interstate might be 60 miles an hour, but some of these vehicles are only going to be doing 40 or 50 miles an hour. So you've got to figure out that speed differential when you're driving on the highways. RK, I cleared my class 5 by following your tips, and most helpful was shoulder checks on every turn. What we do if we are stuck at an intersection for left turn and an emergency vehicle comes from behind. Okay, so RK, excellent question on the emergency vehicles. If you're sitting in an intersection, just wait and stop. Don't go anywhere. Just stay stopped for the emergency vehicle, because emergency vehicles oftentimes will go over into the other lane to get through the intersection because the traffic is already stopped there, and they'll just go around and then go through the intersection. So just stay stopped. And as D said here, excellent point, one that I didn't mention. Thank you for that, D. Always take breaks on long distance trips. Yes, if you're driving try and take a break every couple of hours. Stop, get out of the car, go for a little walk, get the blood flowing through your vehicle, or through your body. Go for a little run or those types of things. Always take a break every couple of hours. Have some food, drink plenty of water while you're driving, go to the toilet and whatnot. Take breaks. And, if you're driving through the mountains, it's very picturesque for sure. And there's lots of areas that you can stop and look at the scenery and whatnot. O'Brien, I have my driver's test tomorrow. Good luck on your driver's test tomorrow. Remember to breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. That'll cause your body to relax. Make sure that you do a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle tonight, whether you're taking your vehicle, and if you're going with a driving school, make sure that you ask the driving instructor whether he or she did a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle, because you don't want to be denied because your insurance expired or you had a brake light out or something else that could be easily fixed. As well, in this day and age of post-COVID, make sure your vehicle's clean. Don't have fast food wrappers up to your ankles in the footwells and those types of things, because they won't go out, okay? Make sure that the seatbelt is working on the passenger's side. Make sure the seat is secure. Make sure the door opens and closes from the other side. And for those of you in the hot Toronto, hot New York, in the Bronx, and those types of things, make sure that you know how to turn on the air conditioning. Keep the driving examiner nice and comfortable with the air conditioning on. All right. Joe said a couple of days ago here, it seemed that every 10 seconds there was a car weaving left and right in their lane. It was so weird. For any learners in the vicinity, it must have been super tense. Yeah, when you get other vehicles and you're trying to drive on a multi-lane road and there's cars cutting in and out and those types of things, just goofy, and it's very nerve-wracking for learning drivers. Morgan, how long is the live video going till? Morgan goes for about another 2-3 minutes. We do about an hour here. If you have any questions at all, you can leave a comment down in the comment section there. We try and get back to you as well. You can send me an email, Rick at Smart Drive Test. I try and get to those every day or two, so we'll do what we can for you. Michelle, I'm driving on a 35 mile an hour speed limit and I maintain the limit, but the other vehicles are driving so fast. Should I make my speed the same with them? Michelle, if you're going for your driver's test, no. Okay, you have to do the posted speed limit for the purposes of your driver's test. And again, that's another part of social driving is that the rest of the cars are not driving the posted speed limit. They're always going with the traffic flow. And for the purposes of your driver's test, you cannot do that. All right. Morgan, do I get 3 minutes to complete each task on the driver's test? No, there isn't a time limit. Okay. If you're taking 10 minutes to parallel park the car, then that's going to say to the examiner that you aren't ready and haven't practiced as much as you should have. But it's not 3 minutes. Okay. But if you've had some practice and you're fairly efficient at parallel parking, you should be able to do it within 3 minutes quite easily. Okay, so know that. Excellent. All right, well, thank you everybody for all your questions, all your participation in the live stream here. If you have any questions at all, watching on the replay, look down in the leave a comment down in the comment section there. Make sure that you check out the podcast. Distracted Driving was the latest one last week. You can find that on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Google, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. Look at all those places and look for the podcast. That'll help you out as well. Cian, this is great what you're doing. People drive like zombies. Apocalypse and it's bad in the United States. Yes, it is. Zombie apocalypse. And I am certain that some people are really not paying attention. I was walking home from the grocery store this afternoon. I saw this woman in a Honda CRV. She had like red hair and was wearing a hat. And she like drove up behind this car and she wasn't 6 inches from the bumper of the vehicle in front. Crazy. Excuse me. Adik, going to Whistler next month. Where can I drop by to say hi? Adik, I'm a long way from Whistler, my friend. I'm actually in Vernon, so if you ever get to Vernon, drop me a note and we'll hook up. Not like hook up, because you can't say that because that's a weird thing for young people. We'll get together and have a beverage. There we go. Awesome. My friend Sam, I interviewed 2 drivers, and the video will premiere at 10 p.m. You won't believe how many times the driver took his road test. Some funny and surprising answers. That sounds awesome. Make sure you check out Big Mac Sam's channel and the videos there. Lots of great information over there for everybody as well. So we'll leave it there for tonight. If you passed your driver's test in the last couple of weeks, congratulations. If you have a driver's test coming up this week, good luck on that. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.